Good evening, I am Brian Good with the Elkhart Model Railroad Club, and tonight I'm going to introduce you to RailPro. Most of you have seen me walking around with either this in my hand or strung around my neck, and some of you have had the guts to ask what it is. Some of you are like, oh my God, what is this? So RailPro essentially is an alternative system to operating your model trains. Back when DCC started coming online, Tim Ring from Ring Engineering was frustrated primarily with the speed matching process. And so he decided that there needed to be a better way. How many of you have done speed matching? How many of you really enjoy it? There's one oddball. Okay. Well, the main driver for RailPro, as I understand this, and now a lot of this is what I have learned having done this a little over a year. The main driver for RailPro is to have the locomotives not so much be speed matched, but be more prototypical and do what's called load sharing. And they do that primarily by calculating the full load current going through the motor, and it is based on a percentage. And then when these locomotives are talking to each other through the brains of the system, the follower locomotives will speed up or slow down accordingly to the directions of the lead. It's all done by radio control. It's based on 2.4 gigahertz. And again, it's load sharing versus speed matching. As we go through this, the one thing I want you to remember, and this is how RailPro was designed with simplicity in mind. The theme of RailPro is that Tim Ring wants you to have fun with your trains instead of working on them. So when I joined the club, Alaska is my railroad. That's what I'm working with. And my story basically starts out with getting the SD70 Max, and there's really three versions that you can get for HO. Genesis 1, the Catos, and then the Genesis version 2. Neither of those differences play well together. So I quickly learned that if I was going to run DCC and speed match, I could only run my Genesis locomotives together or my Catos together. There was take way too much time to get them all to play nicely. So that's what I'd resigned myself, and then Ken sent me a video. And it was an introduction to RailPro, and it was introducing its load sharing process. And we're going to see a slight little demonstration on that here in a little bit. So what I would like to do now is do a quick little video showing how RailPro, a module, is set up and entered into the brains of the system. So we'll go ahead and we'll start the quick little video right now. So now that we have the module installed into the locomotive, we have to tell the hand controller, the HC, to find it. So I'm going to do that by hitting the Find Product button. And I found an LM3. And so now I go to Exit Page. I'm going to go up to Locomotives and find the new one. And it's this one right here. So now, without doing anything, I can control the locomotive. So that module has a lot of old information in it that may have been a switcher So you notice it starts really slow. I have to give it a lot of energy, to a lot of voltage to get it going. So I have to go clear those things out. But it's working. And what we're going to do now is we're going to calibrate how much the full load current through that motor is, and that's how RailPro uses their speed matching. That's how it works so effectively. So what I'm going to do now is go there and hit yes for auto set, and let me bring it back over here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to impede it. Where's your better shot, there or here?
There.
Here?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, we're just going to keep the actual locomotive from moving, and the wheels are going to spin 100%. And this is going to calibrate it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start to test. So this is saying at full speed it's pulling 350 milliamps. I like to do it at least 3 times. So we'll do it again. Oh, that one failed. See, it says test failed. So we'll try it again. See, now it dropped down to 310. And this will get better as the brushes get broken in. So we'll do it one more time. That one failed. See, now we're at 310. So for right now, for running purposes, I'm going to run this at 310 milliamps as the full amount of current that motor's pulling at full speed. If it goes above that current, you're going to get an overcurrent situation and the locomotive will shut down. It's a safety feature that RailPro has in it. So that is how you install a RailPro module into a DCC ready locomotive. And now, without doing anything else, I can run this locomotive. See how it started going a lot faster? Because it now knows what its calibration is. Right. And really, it's as simple as that. Now that makes, let's use this one as an example. So now the RailPro brains of the system now knows the information connected to this this module, and it's going. That's how it's going to talk. So now what we're going to do, talk a little bit about how it does it. The system that they have is called Direct Radio Plus Net. And so what happens is during operation, the hand controller is talking to the locomotive, and in the case of a consist, the locomotives are also talking to each other via radio and back to here. And we're going to see a demonstration here in just a second. Couple things I want to point out before we go on. So what we have here is a hardwire installation for RailPro. This is a F7B unit. This is a fully ready to go track power locomotive, which has their what do you want to call that? Your current keeper. That's this device right here. We call it a PB, Power Backup Module -2. And so that's installed in this one, and so this one runs in track power, and this one is a battery power installation, as well as this one is as well. But this is a DCC ready, using a 21 to 9 pin adapter. This one is also an adapter, but everything's ready with the PBM, and then we have a hardwire setup. Couple of things we want to also point out here. This is their power supply. It's called the PWR 56. This is if you want to power your track power, you would use this. One of the cool features about this, it also doubles as a radio repeater. So if you were in a room that was too big to effectively cover, or you have some radio interference, you would strategically put this in a different location. It'll act as a radio repeater for the system. So what I'd like to do now is actually do a little show and tell before we proceed. So I already have some locomotives set up on the track, and I want you to see just how, just see RailPro in action. It's not speed matching, but it's load sharing function. So let's all come up around the peninsula here. I'm going to go up by Russell Tower. What we have now are 3 different locomotives made by 3 different manufacturers, all running RailPro. In this situation, 1528, the F7 is the lead locomotive. The other 2 are considered MU'd to it. So watch what happens when we start rolling and I slow down the lead locomotive. Watch how the others respond. So now he's struggling a little bit. So we're going to do it again. We're going to slow it down so the others speed up in order to help pick up their share of the load. It's very similar to how it would happen in a prototypical situation. So that is a real quick down and dirty setup or demonstration of how it works. And by the way, the F7 back here is battery powered. So now that you've seen how the locomotives talk to each other and they're doing their load sharing, let's move into a little bit into the benefits of what I see, which makes this really exciting for somebody who may be thinking about building a layout or maybe is in the process and hasn't figured out what they want yet. Battery power. What would be the benefits of running your locomotives on battery power? Well, one is dead rail. First thing I can think of. So if you were to build a layout and not have to power it, what would we not have to worry about? Power buses?
Bad connections.
Bad connections. Shorts. You wouldn't have to worry about. How much time would you save by not having to solder feeders every 3 to 6 feet? How much money would you save by not having to run bus wires? Frog juicers. Worry about reverse loops. You don't need to worry about those because it's dead rail. It's just rail. And also with their technology, if you're not having electricity flow from the track to the wheels, you're not going to have to worry about cleaning your track as often. RailPro claims they haven't cleaned their test track in years.
It looks like it.
So, something else to think about. So some of you may not be aware that RailPro is also backwards compatible with DCC. I can take this track-powered locomotive, set it up in here, make it DCC compatible, and Ken could pull it up on his phone and run it. So if you were to take your RailPro and leave it track-powered, you could do that if that was a concern for you. You can run RailPro on a DC or DC layout. You cannot run DC or DCC on a RailPro layout. It's just the way that it works. Talk a little bit about benefits. The 128 speed steps in DCC is cool, but with RailPro you got 1,000. How precise do you want to be, Doc? So because these are 9-pin modules, we do have some built-in limitations. We have 6 light outputs. If you go with the LM3S, which is the sound version, you have 2 more light outputs with the optional 6-pin connector, and you can add sound. Let's talk about some of the challenges, and I'll be totally honest with you. This isn't all beauty and hey, we got to do this. There are some challenges that come with this. One is the module, as you can see, is not standard size. There are some challenges in installing it in HO. I will admit that, and I will say the website, because it's proprietary, a lot of this stuff comes from the website, and you have to use the website in order to download some of the base files. It can be clunky. However, RailPro does give you the option to be able to create your own light effects and your own sound files that you can then save into your hand controller and then load it into each locomotive as you feel necessary. For those of you that are Hoorah America, it's headquartered in Indiana, Schererville. So I don't know if you knew that. So let's talk real quick about how would you do this. So you have, number one, you have your hand controller here. This is really all you need, that and power, and you can control your trains. We do have a computer interface module. It's USB. There is software that you can get that simulates a hand controller for your computer. So you can do everything from your computer that you can do with your hand controller, except it's on the computer. This is a picture of your backup module. This is your power backup module that you can use, and it functions as a keep alive. And just for just for display purposes, there's a battery tender, and there's a battery tender. So remember, all this was designed as simplicity. Ring Engineering wants you to have fun with your trains and not worry about mysterious CV programming, speed matching, and whatnot. So if anybody is serious about this, have any questions, I will be here, then we can talk about this. And if you think about purchasing, I do have a couple websites that you can go to. One guy in particular has got some pretty good deals. Oh, and I also want to mention there's a real nice support group. It's a users group. And there's also a fake Facebook group, which you can get into, and you can join them and learn and ask questions there. With that, I am Brian Good, and this has been my clinic on the introduction to RailPro with the Elkhart Model Railroad Club. Thank you.
Can you run trains if the power goes out?
Yes, you can.
How big is the battery?
It depends. I've got a battery that takes this whole boxcar here. And then there's a little 2 amp hour battery that fits inside of there.
Are those batteries from RailPro?
No,
Just a regular.
they're outside of RailPro.
Were they just Nican batteries?
No.
Lithium ion.
Lithium. Some version of lithium.
Lithium chloride.
Yeah.
How do the components compare to what we're used to with DCC decoders and the like? How do they compare in pricing?
In pricing, I can tell you this. If you go to the one website that I have in mind, you can get a 5-pack of LM3Ss, which is the sound. And if you want to install the power backup module, you have to have the sound version of this. You can get a 5-pack for $360. If you want to get just the lights and the motion, the 5-pack, they come out to $45 each. And of course, that's a special pricing that he has, and I don't know if anybody else has it. Yankee Dabbler's prices are comparable. There's a question in the back.
How exactly do you recharge the batteries? Or you said they're lithium, correct?
A form of lithium, yeah.
So how would you recharge the batteries? To remove the battery to charge them, or
No. No, in this case, in this one, I would just plug into the harness there right in front and does it. And in this one, I can do the same thing, or it's got, I don't know what the name of this connector is, but I just disconnect it there, plug in the charger, away it goes. This one's a 3 amp hour battery.
Who sells the batteries?
I started out getting RCS of New England, Radio Control Systems of New England, Don Sweet.
Oh, so you're using RC batteries?
No, well, sort of. But they're designed for, and in this case, they're designed for model railroading. Don specializes in G scale, but he has seen the benefits of also offering HO scale. And so he does sell items that fit inside of, in this case, a locomotive, or in this case, with a 3 amp hour battery, a 50-foot boxcar. It's RCS of any, I think is his website, Don Sweet.
So your sound modules, you said were $350 for a 6-pack.
$360 for a 5-pack.
So that breaks down about $70 versus about $90 for a DCC from, let's say ESU. Well,
Yeah, I didn't know what the going rate was, Gary, so I figured you did the math
I
there.
think they're like 100 something. So it's much cheaper that way then.
Yeah, it's much, yeah. And so if you got any questions, if you want to know more specifically, we can talk about that later. I can direct you to that website. Is there anything else?
Going back to the batteries, just explain, let's say you've got a 3 amp hour battery. How long could you run out here on the layout with that battery? Say you got 1 engine versus 3 engines running off of it.
Is Ken running or not?
Ken's not running.
Well, I don't know how to break this down, but if you have a locomotive, in this case, pulling 300 milliamps at full speed, 300 milliamps, you're not never going to run full speed on here. You could feasibly run one of these, all day.
Well, when you're out here running 4 of them at a time, or how many are you running with battery power on them?
I've run as many as 3.
All right, so how much battery are you using out here when you're running?
The black F7s I've used, I can make it around the track 3 times, pulling the train, pulling a heavy
So that's
train.
not all day.
That's not all day. No, that's also with a 0.7 amp hour battery. This one is a 3 amp hour battery, and I have not maxed that out.
How long does it take to recharge your battery once you run it down?
It depends. I would say if you ever, first of all, you don't ever want to draw a lithium battery all the way down. And it would probably take, I haven't timed it out, but that would probably take, if I drew it down to 10.1 volts, which is when the modules will start to say, hey, low voltage, that would probably take an hour and a half to recharge.
So you get a battery indicator on your throttle.
Yeah, that's something I forgot to tell you. So what'll happen now, let's see, okay, it's talking to it. You're gonna have to come up for this. So right now I have the black one back there. It's on battery power, and I have it pulled up. And if I hit this little I button here, it's going to tell me right here how much current the motor's pulling actively. The track voltage, or what it's seeing as the track voltage, is displayed in the middle. And then over on the left, it tells me the temperature of the module. So if you get into a situation where it's getting too hot, it will do the shutdown, much as it would if it was to have an overcurrent situation. So I go around the layout and I can see where the weak parts of the layout are because it always say low track voltage. What else do we want to do? Talk about this. One of the things I like about this is each of these buttons down here in the middle or down here at the bottom. Hold on, Bill. Those are the same as your function buttons. I can actually label them as to what they are. Instead of you looking at your locomotive and saying, now what did I call F12? What is F13 on this locomotive? Well, this one is just spelled out right here. I got the load, I've got a spitter sound, I've got the engine sound, the coupler, and there you can get, 16 different functions that you can put on this per locomotive. And it says it right there what it is, like in this case. So, yeah. So that is so that was the bell and the horn, and now I've got the prime mover started up for just the black F7 1500.